So first of all, let's understand what's off-roading.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So off-roading means just getting off the beaten path.
Mm-hmm.
So it does not mean that you have to have a certain kind of a product which is going to do everything. So you can either be in this region, you can either go on the sand.
Mm-hmm.
There are certain other regions you can go on mountains.
Mm-hmm.
There are certain other regions where rocks are is a very common area.
Mm-hmm.
Like the Americas have got a lot of these in the deserts. They have the deserts and they've got these canyon, the Grand Canyon, which they do a lot of climbing up there. The Australian region again is a completely different terrain which people drive in. The Scandinavian region again is another region
really?
because it's ice.
Mhm.
So you've got a lot of different things. In fact, that's another nice thing which I would like to get into. I've not yet got there. And then you've got the South American region, which is similar to like what we have seen back home,
Mm-hmm.
the mountains, the slush, and the forest.
Right.
So these are the things. These are the different terrains which you can off-road.
Mm-hmm.
Now, what's an off-roader? Now, typically an SUV is an off-roader.
Right.
Okay. And you have got two types of SUVs. You've got the sport utility vehicles, which are all-wheel drives.
Mm-hmm.
That means all four wheels get power.
Mm-hmm.
And then you've got the 4x4.
Mm-hmm.
So everybody thinks a 4x4 and an all-wheel drive are the same thing. No, they're not. An all-wheel drive, you cannot control the amount of power which goes into the front wheels or the back wheels.
Mm-hmm.
It depends on which brand it is. So some are front wheel biased, some are rear wheel biased, meaning that some brands have got more power going to the front wheel than to the rear wheel. It can be economy, it can be any such kind of thing, or the brand philosophy itself. And then you've got a 4x4, where you can, with either it is all-time four-wheel drive,
Mm-hmm.
or it can be a two-wheel drive at the majority of the time, and then you've got a transfer case which you can push it into a four-wheel drive.
Mm-hmm.
So you've got a different lever or a button depending on different products which you're going to have. So these are the types of products which are there in the market.
Right. Right.
So as you were saying, so like if you want to begin, so what are you going to look at?
Mm-hmm.
For starters, what do you want to do? Do you want to go into an extreme level of sport eventually, or do you just want to be with the family and enjoy nature?
Mm-hmm.
An all-wheel drive will do this job to a certain extent, but the point with an all-wheel drive is once you get stuck, you will not be able to bring yourself out so easily
Mm-hmm.
because there's not going to be much traction.
Mm-hmm.
Meaning that your tires are just going to spin where they are in any of the terrain which you're going to be at,
Right.
whether it's sand, whether it's mud, whether it's even rock.
So the system isn't capable of making intelligent choices in difficult terrain.
No,
basically.
it's not. The system isn't.
Mm-hmm.
It is the driver who needs to induce the system to do that. So if it's an all-wheel drive system, there isn't anything beyond that.
Mm-hmm.
An all-wheel drive system is basically a functionality for a product to be safe on tarmac.
Right.
So if you have power going to all four wheels
Mm-hmm.
and you're taking a ramp exit or you're taking a roundabout at a higher speed, you do have power going to all four wheels, which will help you in, let's say, when you're taking a turn, to give you more traction or more grip onto the surface which you're on.
Mm-hmm.
So let's say a roundabout and there was water leaking on the sides. If you are a front wheel drive, something called as hydroplaning, when water comes on the road and you're a slightly higher speed,
Mm-hmm.
you will tend to skid. So you have either understeer or oversteer, depending on which car you're driving. And an all-wheel drive system, in case there's a skidding taking place, it automatically applies brakes to the diagonal wheel.
Okay.
So that is why you tend not to skid so much.
Mm-hmm.
You will skid, but not to tend to skid so much as compared to either a front wheel drive or a rear wheel drive.
Mm-hmm.
So these are the differences.
Right. So comparatively, compared to a two-wheel drive, it's a safer and better option on road.
On road, it's a better, safer, and option on tarmac. It's a much better and safer option.
However, if you take it off-road, even with the best driver, it has a certain limitation. It can't go beyond.
Correct.
So this is not something we would recommend to someone who's actually planning to go into difficult terrain.
Correct. So if there's a person who wants to challenge themselves on terrains,
Mm-hmm.
then they would look at a four-wheel drive.
Mm-hmm.
So a four-wheel driver would be a car which is either an all-time four-wheel drive or a four-wheel drive which has got either a rear wheel, predominantly the rear wheel drives, and then they got a transfer case which makes them four-wheel drive.
Four-wheel drive.
The reason they do it is for fuel economy.
Mm-hmm.
Because when you're on the road, you do not want that. But its job is off-road, not on the road.